What up, world? R.I.C.H coming right back at you. Officer Tatum acted like he was about to break the Nolan Wells case wide open, but all he really did was give one side a soft place to talk.
Gotta say something real quick. Benjamin Crump should be ashamed of himself. Al Sharpton should be ashamed of themselves. I'm right here in Mississippi. It's crazy that I had to fly down here to even get this information. They've been lying on these boys. I got evidence, and I'm gonna show it to you, and I'm gonna lay it out for you. It is a shame that that boy Nolan did not get the respect that he deserved. In my opinion, they turned his death into a racial thing, destroying the community. You name it, they did it. And we got evidence that it wasn't just 4 boys with him. We got evidence that they asked Nolan to get back on the boat, and he refused to because he grown. We got evidence that the boys reached out to the parents, that Benjamin Crump and them didn't refuse to reach out to these boys. And I've talked to them. I've seen the evidence with my own eyes. I've seen that there was more than just 4 people. There was 3 boats full of kids. I know that they left and they had nothing to do with this. And instead of them saying and standing up for these boys and saying, look, we don't know what happened. We want justice for Nolan. These boys didn't have no involvement. Instead, they want to make it about race. And it is a shame. And I'm so heated, man. I went out to Horn Island. We got all the video. We got the interviews. The boys wanted to talk to me because I'm the only one there to give them a voice, because everybody else is fake, fraudulent, looking out for themselves. And it's a shame, man.
This is why that teaser rubbed me the wrong way. When a family is still asking how did their son end up dead, you don't market an interview like you about to solve the case unless you really got answers. You need new evidence, a clean timeline, or an answer that actually deals with the questions people have been asking. From what I saw, this interview didn't do none of that. It gave Warren a platform to explain his side, but it did not close the gaps that still make people uncomfortable. That is the problem with this whole thing. It sounded like Tatum already decided who he believed before the conversation even started. And in a case like this, that's dangerous. Nolan Wells is dead. His family still does not have a complete answer. The independent autopsy did not give a clear cause or manner of death. So for anybody to act like this is already wrapped up, it feels disrespectful to the family. The real question has never been whether there were other people on Horn Island that day. The real question is why Nolan left with a group and his keys and phone came back with that group, but he didn't. That is the part Tatum did not solve.
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college. You know, we talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends. And I mean, Nolan was like a brother to me. And Nolan lit up every room he walked in. He always had a smile on his face. He always had something good to say. I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody and say bad things about someone. You know, there's a lot of people that talk crap nowadays, and Nolan was never that person. Sweetest soul ever. And I mean, I had a great relationship with Nolan. I've never got in an argument with Nolan. We were super close, and I've never said or will ever have anything bad to say about Nolan Wells.
Yeah, and you guys, you said you kind of grew up together. Mm-hmm. Did you know his mom, or how was that? Because I saw in the media where it appears that she may have said, at least I saw in part, that she said as if she didn't know any of you guys.
Right. Well, Nolan, a lot of the times was at like my house and at my buddy's house. We never went to Nolan's house and hung out. I mean, and my friend group's very, very tight knit. I mean, we hang out every day when we're back home from school. In high school, we hung out most weekdays and every day on the weekend. And I mean, we were never at Nolan's house, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But
this the part that don't make no sense to me. Warren is saying he was close to Nolan. He is saying they grew up together. They were like brothers. He is saying Nolan was at his house most of the time. But then we are supposed to believe he never really knew Nolan's mother? I'm not saying that's impossible, but that don't feel normal. If you know somebody through middle school, high school, and the beginning years of college, how do you never cross paths with his mama in a meaningful way? No birthday party, no school function, no pickup, no drop off, no family moment where his mother at least knows whose house he's at. That's why people keep looking at this story sideways. When somebody says, that was my best friend, but the mother don't know the friend group like that, that creates a gap. And in a death case, a gap matters. That gap may not prove a crime. It may not prove somebody is lying about everything, but it absolutely proves that the family has the right to keep asking questions. This is what Tatum should have pressed harder. A real interviewer does not let an answer sit there just because it helps the person he wants to believe. The follow-up should have been simple. How were you that close to Nolan, but still that far from the family? That's not a gotcha question. That's basic context. And this interview needed context more than it needed confidence.
Getting onto the boat, and they took 3 boats out. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just Nolan and 4 boys. It was a multitude of people on several different boats. And some of the boys that they're accusing wasn't even on the boat that Nolan was on. But let me show you from the vantage point where I have the video to prove that I'm here where I say I am. And so right now, here's the angle that you're going to see on the footage. It's just from probably that boat to, maybe about 30, 40 feet here to the right. And this is where the video is showing how many people were actually out there, actually getting on the boats. So therefore, it debunks very clearly that it was only Nolan and 4 boys.
This is what Tatum tried to debunk a point that wasn't even a point in the first place. He made it sound like people believe that Nolan went to the island with just 3 other people. That was never the main issue. We already knew other people were out there. We already knew Horn Island was not empty. We already knew this was not 4 people standing alone on a beach. That does not answer the questions the family is asking. The question is who was responsible for making sure Nolan got back home when the group left. Showing a busy island don't explain why Nolan was left behind. Showing people getting on boats don't explain why his phone and his keys left the island without him. That is why this interview felt lame to me. Tatum kept acting like context was the same thing as an answer. It is not. A crowd can explain confusion, but it does not excuse confusion when an 18-year-old ends up dead. The family is not asking whether Horn Island was busy or not. The family is asking why their son did not make it home. That is the case. That is the pain. That is the part that he did not solve.
Nolan, that was the last time I laid eyes on him. But when we were leaving, obviously, no one is getting left at the island that came with us unless they demanded to, be there and asked, this is a very common thing at Horn Island. When you're out there, a lot of people ride out there with someone and in with somebody else all the time. I've done that 100 times. It's a very common thing, but Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking. Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. I'm going to ride in with somebody else. And it's not uncommon to hear, but it's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on the boat. Nolan, get on the boat. Get on the boat. We're leaving. If you're coming, you got to come now. And Nolan made a decision to stay out on the island. And like he said,
how many people heard that? Were there just
at least
just
5 everyone that was on our boat right there, because the Palm Beach had already left. My buddy went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and 3 guys on the way back. And Nolan wasn't the only person to ride out there with us and in with somebody else. We had multiple people in our group that rode out with us and rode in on someone else's boat. And that, like I said, that's not an uncommon thing to do. A lot of people do that. I could name probably 50 people out there that day that ran out with somebody and ran back in with somebody else.
This is the most important part of the whole interview to me. Warren is saying they begged Nolan to get on that boat. He is saying Nolan was adamant about staying with Katie. But Katie's side is saying that Nolan left abruptly because he had to leave with his friends. Those 2 stories don't go together. Somebody lying. If Warren says Nolan stayed behind with Katie, and Katie's side says Nolan was leaving with his friends, that is a major conflict in the timeline. And when the final timeline has a conflict like that, the interviewer should press harder. This is not about trying to convict somebody on the internet. This is basic logic. The interview was supposed to make things cleaner. Instead, it just made certain questions louder. And that's my biggest issue with this Tatum dude. He has talked about this case like the family being crunk and the people asking questions are the problem. But no, the problem is that an 18-year-old left for a 4th of July boat trip and never made it home. The problem is that his mother does not have peace. The problem is that this story has too many soft spots for people to act like it's been solved. When Tatum steps into this with his reputation, his past comments, and his attitude towards the family side, He does not make the information look stronger. He makes it look more political. And that may have hurt Warren more than it helped him. Because the families of these kids may see Officer Tatum as a black man who's finally willing to listen. But a lot of the public don't see Tatum as neutral. He has already been dismissive towards Nolan's family. He has already been dismissive towards Ben Crump. He has already spoken like he knows what happened before the facts are even in. So when he presents Warren's side, people are not just listening to Warren. They are filtering it through Tatum. That is a bad strategy if the goal was trust. And trust is already the main issue of this case. The family does not trust the story. The public does not trust the gaps. And the interviewer does not look trustworthy to the people that need to be convinced. That is why this interview didn't land like Tatum thought it would. Warren has the right to speak. But if you're going to give him a platform, ask the questions like a man who wants the truth, not like a man who wants to prove that he was right. That is where Officer Tatum failed. He did not bring the case closer to the truth. He brought more attention to his own angle. And in a death case, that is not enough. So I'm going to take y'all out like this. Officer Tatum oversold this interview. He acted like he had the answers. But the main contradictions are still right here. A close friend who did not really know the mother is a gap. Debunking the wrong rumor is a distraction. Warren's account about Katie not lining up with Katie's side is a real problem. And nobody should be this confident when the autopsy is undetermined and the family still doesn't have peace. Nolan Wells deserves a more complete timeline. His mother deserves respect. And anybody who claims to care about the truth should stop using this case to score points against a grieving family. This is not about Officer Tatum winning a debate. This is about an 18-year-old who didn't come home. Until every contradiction is answered clearly, nobody should be acting like this case is closed. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.